Hello out there, this is Terkanil and welcome back to RxCraft. I am picking up where I left off last, here with the refinery. I have, at this point, 8 compression dynamos in position, and I just need to plug in the piping to relay the fuel to them, as well as water, which will come down the middle. But presently, I am working on getting the fuel storage set up. For that, we're going into the basement. Oops, wrong way. So if I come down here, that blue line tells me the floor, or right below the floor where I'm going, and the Z coordinate that I have to come down on. The room is going to be down here. So I'm going to end up digging this wall out and that way. That is step 1 for today. Decided I need a little bit more gold, and since we have a gold farm, I might as well make a visit. You know, gold nuggets, gold bars, it's all there. Reached the nether portal that leads to the sky platform for the gold farm. And I noticed that up above us, there was stuff floating. So up here, that is the portal that links to all, however many we actually have on the other side. There was quite a bit of stuff just sitting here. I think I'm good for a while. I stepped through just to show you the gold farm, and spent several days doing most of the work here, and by most I mean the obsidian, the glass, the initial base platform. I helped out a slight bit, but most of my work that I did here was actually down here. There's Ammaross fiddling still a little bit further. He's expanded this a little bit further to send all of our gold that way. That's a lot of pig noise up there. Most of what I did was our timers here. But we're getting a pretty good amount of gold out of this so far. You can see it flowing through our little pipes here. So we have a very, very high amount of gold. Part of what Am is doing presently is sending everything into our auto workbenches right here, so that we can have everything converted into gold blocks. So you can see one floating through right there. We have plenty of gold, so he made it gold the entire way through. Seemed fitting. I agree. But we have the nuggets we need for our projects back at the base, so back we go. Alright, so since my last cut, I have done quite a bit more work. So as I showed before, I have 8 of the compression dynamos loaded up here, and I've gone and built these. They're capacitor banks. So to show you how these things are built, I'm going to find them in my list here. Capacitor banks require 4 tin ingots, a redstone block, and 4 double layer capacitors. These require basic capacitors and electrical steel. So electrical steel requires silicon, coal, and iron. You get silicon by tossing, well, one of several different blocks into the sag mill, the simplest of which is sand. Obviously, I have plenty of that, being I'm at a desert, and that I have plenty of cobblestone, which turns into sand when you stuff it in a sag mill. So, great way to get rid of cobblestone, since I've got plenty to spare. The basic capacitors are 2 redstone, 4 gold nuggets, and a copper bar. That was why I made the trip over to the gold farm. Quickest way to get me a lot of gold nuggets. And I wasn't sure if I'd have enough here. Probably would, but it was easier just to grab it that way. And show off Am's biggest project so far. So now we've got these 4 here. And this provides me 20 million RF capacity storage right now. I'm probably going to be adding 2 more capacitors in a little while here, but I've got to be able to build them. These are going to be acting as the buffer for... Actually, I'm going to probably break this down just a little bit. Give me that. I'll pick that up later. So, the capacitor bank here will be acting as the overflow power buffer for the refineries. These things will eat a lot of juice, usually by just sitting there. So I need to be able to have something to hold the power. I'm going to end up expanding this out, probably about 4 more blocks for the compression dynamo, so I have a grand total of 16. And then that will end up going out a bit further as I set up my machines. So there's going to be quite a bit out in this area right here for the machine room. Now for fuel storage, let me go back here real quick. I have the fuel being split in 2 directions. 1, down to the basement. 2, I need to get 2 more blades rods so that I can build a second, or build, I should say, another ender tank to stick right here, and this will end up allowing me to send oil back to Am. For my storage, got digging down the basement so that I could have some place to put it all. Showed where the room would be. This is the current progress. So this hole right here is from the upper level machine room. This is the main pipeline into the room and where my fuel storage will go. So I'll be expanding this room some. I'll be using, just for simplicity, the BuildCraft tanks, which just requires glass. So I'll have 4 high and then several deep. The rows will be set up as 2 wide, so it'll be 4 high, 2 wide, and then however long I'm going to go. This will be the intersection going down, and somewhere right about here I'll have another one going up to send the fuel back up to the engines. That's what I have to figure out next, is where I have to punch that hole. So let's see how far I'm at right now, because I do not remember. Don't have a lever. Give me that. So I'm going to get digging a bit more, get my pipes laid out here, and I'll be back. Alright, we have some of the space down in the basement taken care of. I'm actually going to end up replacing some of this piping here. Mostly the stuff going straight down. I believe I can connect. Let me test that. Maybe? Maybe not. I'll figure that out in a second. But, so I needed to get fuel or water into these tanks. So I thought I'd give the EnderIO reservoir a try. So what you see here is 2 blocks high. What you can't see is that it's 2 blocks deep. So it's a 2 by 2 square of reservoir blocks. Stick 2 buckets of water in there and it turns into effectively an infinite source block. Same idea as if you were to take 3 water blocks wide and you can pick up the center and it always refills itself. With this, it is now providing water to all of my dynamos. So in theory, these guys should have permanent cooling. One thing I've also done here as a test is this dynamo, I gave a pair of augments. So in the thermal expansion stuff that has been added with 1.7, we have augmentation. This guy adds a base fuel energy efficiency. This guy adds, basically doubles energy output at the cost of a little extra base fuel. So hopefully this will help cancel it out to some degree. We'll see how that works. I'm actually going to throw in one more of the gearboxes, so this guy right here, to see what happens with that. And the final step I've got to do is, I've already punched a hole down here, and I got to finish that out. May as well take care of that really quick here. Alright. I guess I'm going down. These things are hard to aim. So that's there. So that's the pipe coming up from the basement where the fuel is to be stored. I'm just going to have this thing wrap all the way around the banks of the dynamos. So I'm going to need some more of those conduits. See if I've got any fused quartz left. I got a little bit. Now the fluid conduits that I'm going to be using downstairs primarily, that is this conduit binder with either any type of glass, essentially. I think it's either any type or it could just be the quite clear glass. I've not tested normal glass really quick, or quite yet. Yeah, I'm going to try that really quick, actually. Okay, so it's just the quite clear glass that allows it. So it's the quite clear glass, which is basically just taking sand, stick it in the alloy smelter, and let it cook. And the quite clear glass, if necessary, can be stuck in a crafting bench to get regular glass. So now we have a few more of those, and I'm hungry. I decided to take the fourth crafting bench I had, or fourth capacitor bank I had, and shift it over here. So I'm going to have a wall-high capacitor bank sitting right here. And this will act as the energy focal point for all of my machines, or they'll have stationed over here. Let's get a few more of these pipes installed. Look at the ones around the outside. And I'll need some more. So I'll have to finish this out really quick here. And then I shall return so I can get all this turned back on. So I have to initially pump or power some of this with oil, since I'll need some power. So what I'm going to end up doing is run the power into these guys, pull one out, bring it over here to power my dynamos, which will feed back into the system. And once that's going, it'll be up, running, and done. Of course, I'll need to make sure I've got the tanks downstairs ready to go, as well as AMS output, and I'll need 2 blaze rods to finish that. So I should probably go get that before I get any further. So it's back to the blaze farm, or the blaze spawner. I'm gonna die. We are back, and this is the tanks we'll be using to store our fuel in initially. We have exchanged some of the piping coming down from the upper level. This is the basic fluid conduit. This requires equalized water or liquid in order to get it to go uphill, so coming downhill is a little bit better option for it. And since it's going to be coming straight down in order to fill our tanks, may as well use it. Besides, it's cheaper. Now going back up, I'm going to be using the pressurized fluid conduit that I started with, as this doesn't have that limitation. It also means I can compact it into a little bit smaller space without having to tinker with the pipes, as these two do not connect at all. Tested that several times last night. And several segments I decided to toss last night. Apparently my brain shut off. You would not want to hear me. Trust me. I listened to it. It was bad. So back over here, I moved one of the capacitor banks off, linked up the basement to these 4 compression dynamos. These 4 are linked up separately. I'm not connecting them quite yet. This is mostly to get oil in and out of the initial processing to get everything turned on. I have to use this tank here in order to transition between the pressurized pipes and the regular conduits down there. This conduit is going to this ender tank, which will be sending off to AM. And once I go turn on the oil from the platform, it'll fill this bank of 6 hardened portable tanks and fill into the refineries. Once that is filled up, I'm actually going to take one of these, stick it onto this set of conduits here, which will turn these dynamos on. And that will give us the base energy to get everything going. Oil is nowhere near as efficient as fuel, unfortunately, hence why I'm only using it temporarily. I believe oil is about 100,000 redstone flux last I checked, whereas a bucket of fuel is substantially higher of resultant output. So we're going to end up burning a little bit on the get-go to get everything started. But it'll be good and set after that point in time. So we're going to head over to the platform and get that going. We also installed mod updates last night. A couple had to be, or at least 2 had to be changed out in the process of updating. Forge and CoFH core, as once I dropped everything in, we found out that in that space of time, a new update for CoFH core was released, and had to go pull it all over again. We had a fun night. Anyhow, let's get to the platform and get this all turned on. We're back at the oil platform. Hit the switch, turn everything on. We should begin seeing oil shoot through the conduit here, and we'll end up seeing if it actually is going to end up pulling long enough in the tank at the top. Hey, look at that, we see it. Watch this thing get going. And it shouldn't be able to stay very long on this side, at least I would hope, as the other side should be pulling it and sending it into the bank of portable tanks. Still gathering on this side. To the base. And there we have it. The oil is flowing. Ain't it pretty? But we're going to go and pop one of these off. Alright, fine. Gimme. I need orange. Flood into these guys. They turn on. And the refineries go. Yay! So I'm just going to sit and watch this for a little bit. Make sure everything functions as it's supposed to. Doesn't look like it is quite yet. Ah! Doot. There we go. Yay, troubleshooting pipes. And should just be extract only, extract without signal. Now that should very quickly end up going over to these dynamos. Wait. To the basement. And there we have it. The entire system is on. Had to go reconfigure the endpoints for the pressurized bug for the pipes downstairs off of the store tanks, so they would actually pull from the tanks. So that is done. Hopefully these are empty. Looks like it is. Now I can link those in with the rest of the system. We're actually going to use these to prepare for the rest of the conduit bank, or the... I love my brain to stop something. For the rest of the compression dynamos. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will wrap around. And then we can come over here. Put this. Beep. There we go. That is ready. Now we just need to add the pipes down the center. One more. There we go. Connected to you. Alright, that is ready to go. Let me take myself out of the center of that. Now that everything's going, turn this on. Make sure it is set to extract at all times. We'll see if this thing works correctly. Since my last cut, I decided to modify the power generation area, primarily due to the fact of, one, I now have a decent amount of resources so I can build a little bit more, and two, me and I realized exactly what we can actually pull off Am had been using some of it already in his base, and I needed to expand. So instead of having the dynamos coming as just on the sides, coming straight down a long line, I'm now compacting them to a 3x3 by 3 area. Well, okay, take it back. 3x3 by presently 4 area. So each of these are now connected to a single power line right in the center. And in order to control the power flow, I have this right here, which is an insulated redstone conduit, which basically allows me to send redstone signal along these lines. And due to how EnderIO has their conduit piping area or stuff set up, we can actually combine them all into one big junction. So I could technically have several conduits all running in the same block space. So right now I've got the enhanced energy conduit and the insulated redstone conduits running down this line. And I've got a lever here to provide the redstone signal for all of the compression dynamos. Now with the EnderIO stuff, you can also set color codes to each of the endpoints. So right now I've got the redstone conduits color coded to yellow, so I can have the yellow signal here controlling all this. So if I so wished, I could actually have multiple redstone signals going down the same redstone conduit, but as long as the endpoints have different colors, it won't turn stuff on, or will turn certain items on. So if I wanted to, I could take this out a little bit further and have, for example, 2 different levers controlling different lines of compression dynamos, as an example. I've also now reworked how the conduits are flowing into each side, since fuel and water have to come into the sides or back of the dynamos. I have the 4 coming in here on this side and the 4 up there. The water are in the opposite corners, so I can throw my second set of 8 dynamos right in between those. And what you're seeing here is also showing the conduits are going into the walls. This is using the conduit facades, also part of EnderIO, which allow you to fully hide the piping. So I can use either the crescent hammer from thermal expansion, or I can switch to the Yeta wrench to unhide the, or I should say make the blocks transparent. Put that stuff back in. So you can see them running through the wall and down through the flooring. Great little trick to clean space up and use the walls and floors. So that's how I've got everything set up here. A second ago you also would have seen some of the piping disappear. That is also another feature of the Yeta wrench. If you look in the bottom left of my screen space, you'll see a little block of 4 icons. These allow me to hide certain pieces. So I can either have everything showing, I can have it just show the power conduits, redstone conduits, or item conduits if there are any. And there's a separate one for liquid conduits right there. So I can separately show each one or all to make it easier to interact with the conduits. Very nice feature that we're actually really beginning to like. So I might end up actually throwing some facades in the middle here. Haven't quite decided yet. But I'm going to get back to throwing the extra dynamos in here. It'll take a few minutes because I've got to color code the redstone signal, or I should say the redstone conduits for the signal. And we'll get to that now. And there we are. So we have the entire dynamo bank set up in the grid. And I even stuck an iron block facade on the side here so I can hook a switch to it, or lever I should say. So now everything has redstone signal like I wanted it, and I'm now extending all of this down this way. So all of my power conduits will come over this way to where I can actually hook up all my machines. I can run all the piping through the floor so it isn't in the way and making a mess of things. I've also reconfigured this a little bit, added in my 2 extra refineries, I've run the piping along the side with the power, so I can now go up along the top, and it looks a little bit cleaner as a result. So I may end up actually making a few more changes, see how much more I can compact this as a result. I'm thinking actually about taking these power conduits and running them to the floor as well. I just can't remember if oil can be stuck through the bottom of the refinery or not. So I'm going to have to test that really quick, see if that works. If it does, all that's going to be seen is these pipes going into the floor. And that's about all that will actually end up being seen. Quite nice. Let's see if everything works, though. I'm actually also going to end up sticking a facade on that block. Maybe we'll do that really quick here. So this machine right here is the painting machine from EnderIO. Basically stick a template block like here on the stone. Stick in a conduit facade, which is created using 8 of the conduit binder. And then it just makes your facade look like whatever you painted. Apparently you can do this to other blocks as well, but I've not actually tried it quite yet. So there we are. Now it looks like this thing is flush with the floor, and you no longer see the holes going down to the basement. So I'm just going to finish this line here, and I can move all the machines out from the longhouse into here. Good times. So I've begun expanding out the fuel storage room. Am should be picking up a little bit more as well. Added several new lines. These are mostly full at this point, as you can see over here as well. So I'm adding 2 full more lines just like these ones here in order to cover some of the oil or the fuel coming in. There's quite a lot up there. And I've made a few modifications up in the machinery room. Finally begun moving the machinery over. Just got to pick up my aqueous accumulator as the last piece, so I can replace the wood there. Yeah, oops, too wood. So I got most of the equipment then therefore down here. You can see I had to empty out some extra water I had when this is done. I've got some more conduits running around in here. If I switch over my wrench, these guys are now running power over to the capacitor bank here, which will be expanded shortly, so I can power all of my machines. And then I've got the conduits I had initially from the longhouse over here. I just gotta throw some facades on there, and I'm missing those at the moment. I've expanded all my, or should I say, upgraded all of the oil buffer tanks to reinforced. These are substantially larger than the ones I was using. The hardened portable tanks, which I was using before, can hold up to 32 buckets of a liquid. These carry 128. You can do the math. 6 of them are full. Sorry, 5 of the 6 are full. Excuse me. And due to the extreme amount of oil I've had coming in, and in queue here, I went back to the platform and turned off the derrick. The pump is off, so I have no more coming into the ender tank here, and I'll be leaving it off until this is all processed. That is a lot of stuff. So once I have the buffer here cleared out and I've expanded the storage room downstairs, I can see about turning that back on. I think for now I'll be calling it a night. So this is Terkanil, signing off.